Welcome to the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. If we could we open the roll and let's see who's here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. All right, to start off with, Senator Hackworth has offered to do the committee's favorite motion, which is to strike a bill, and he would ask that we get a motion to strike Senate Bill 561. Could I have such a motion? So moved. Have a second? We have a motion and a second to strike Senate Bill 561. All in favor, please vote aye on the board. Opposed, nay. All right.
Ayes 10, no 0.
Ayes 10, no 0. The bill is stricken. We have a sign-up sheet, and our first bill up today is Senator Head, and Senator Head has Senate Bill 414. Senator
yes,
Head,
sir.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Senate Bill 414 seeks to address a problem that we really have statewide, but it is a real issue out our way on our side of the state. As you know, the western part of the state is real big on outdoor activities. It's beautiful, and we've got wonderful streams and mountains and forests, and people enjoy being out there. But we hear, particularly from the folks that like to get out there, the problem that they run into finding waste tires. You wouldn't think about that being as much of a problem unless you've been out there and seen it, but we have the reports that I've seen are that in the waterways of Virginia, we tend to find, we think there's somewhere right around 2 million waste tires that have just been thrown off of bridges or dumped in illegally in disposal because we don't have a really good mechanism for dealing with the waste tires that are out there when somebody buys a new set of tires and the old ones are dealt with. There are a lot of folks that do the right things with them, but there are others that just don't, and it's causing a great problem. If it doesn't go into the waterways, we also find out, and I'm hopeful that somebody from some of the forestry industry is going to be here because there are localities that have had to spend thousands of dollars getting them out of the forests when they find just a pile of tires out somewhere. And so this bill was brought to me, the idea by a friend and fellow board member from the Virginia Recreational Facilities Authority that manages Explore Park in the Roanoke Valley. And he brought this idea to me because this is a plan that actually started, I believe, in British Columbia with the province there putting it into place. It worked so incredibly well that then got picked up by other provinces, became then Canadian federal law, and now you've got some U.S. states that are picking this up. And the situation runs this way. It just simply says that if you are a manufacturer of tires or a producer of tires to sell tires, then you've got to take some responsibility for helping set up the disposal mechanism that's out there by creating places that people can bring the tires and turn them in at no cost to them. So if you've got agricultural tires, anything that you're doing on a vehicle yourself, some way that it can then be managed and then go through a recycling and processing situation. There are currently a lot of ways that tires can be recycled and used for a bunch of other things. This will facilitate more of that, and in some cases in the areas in Canada where this has been used, it's ended up becoming a profit center for the manufacturers rather than it being a cost to them because they are again in the process of this. It takes the fees away from this as far as something that we're dealing with as a funding mechanism. It just causes the manufacturers to be involved in taking care of this. I've got some folks here that would like to speak about this and could give you perhaps some more information on it than I can. That's basically it in a nutshell, and hope we can answer some questions.
Thank you, Senator Head. Are questions from the panel? Senator Hackworth.
Yes. So, Mr. Chair, and question for the patron. this is a huge problem in Southwest Virginia. I thank the patron for bringing this bill. And, one of my businesses is a garage that we actually put tires on vehicles, and there is a fee that is collected from the state that we send to the state. And there has been numerous requests from county boards of supervisors. I've asked the question when I was on the board of supervisors, where exactly does this fee that's collected from the garages go to? And I think this is definitely a good bill, but I would just ask the patron, does he know exactly those fees that come into the state and it's transferred back out? Do you have any idea what happens to that fee?
Mr. Chairman and Senator Hackworth, I will tell you, I don't know exactly, but my understanding is that DEQ has siphoned off a significant amount of those fees to go into stormwater management and fees. So it's not really going for what it was purported to be used for to begin with. I don't want to upset that apple cart, and there's a House bill that is addressing this same issue, coming at it from a completely different direction. All I know is that we need to do something, and this is a way for us to get started. I would also point out that the enactment clause on this delays the time frame, gives people some time to get together, and then even after, if we were to adopt this exactly as is, after it went into effect, it would take probably about a year before it really went into effect, because you got to then get everything set up to do that. And Mr. Chairman, I did neglected to make the request. I had a suggestion of an amendment to the bill on line 151. In that enactment clause, it says on or before January 1 of 2026, and I'd like to change that to July 1 of 2026, so that it would be 2 years. If we were to take action on this, it would be 2 years after that before the group would have to be, the organization would have to be put into place.
Does the committee understand the amendment? We're just taking it another 6 months out. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the line amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, the bill as amended.
And again, Mr. Chairman, I think that there are some people that would like to speak
certainly
probably for and against this bill. So.
I believe I have one other questioner here. Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the patron, I don't buy them often, but I believe that there is a fee that is charged when you buy tires that is supposed to be for recycling of the tires. How does this impact that?
Mr. Chair and Senator Williams-Graves, that would part of that fee, the fee that's currently being charged by the state that they are required to collect is I believe right now 50 cents a tire. Most of the garages will charge you $3 to $5 to $10 per tire themselves, because they want to be able to cover their costs in doing that. And they'll just say, if you're buying the tires here, and they would be able to continue to do that. If that was, I think you would probably still see some of that, but maybe less of that as people knew that now, and the hope would be that you would see that go away, because by doing this, the manufacturers would be putting something in place that would take care of this and coming up with the plan. And again, the way that this program works is if we put this into place, all of the participants are tasked in creating their own organization that is going to manage this by the end of that delayed enactment clause. And then once they had that in place, then I think the fees would sort of take care of themselves in that process. That's the way that it's worked in the areas around the world that this has been utilized. So,
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair.
Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Head, does this put any responsibility on the consumer?
Mr. Chairman and Senator Williams-Graves, it does not. This is this stays with the people that are taking care of it. What it does, though, is gives an opportunity for consumers that are dealing with their own tires. For example, if you've got in agricultural tires, if you've ever changed tractor tires, a tractor tire doesn't go flat. It never goes flat when it's in the barn. You're out in the field. You've never changed tractor tire, but if you've ever changed tractor tire, it's going to happen out in the field, and then you've got to do something with it. This also, because of the collection sites that are available free of charge to people, gives people that have their own waste tires a way to dispose of them without cost. And that's part of this program, and that's really what we're trying to get at, is making it easy and very easy for consumers to take care of this and do it the right way, because people don't want to throw this stuff away. They just honestly don't know what to do with them. And this is going to give them a way to take care of that.
So, Mr. Chair, to the patron, so this would give an individual, back to like regular consumers, if they had disposed tires or old tires or whatever, they would too have an option of being able to dispose of those tires as opposed to having them on the side of their house or something or another like that?
Or having somebody come by and offer to haul them off and throw them in the river. Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
exactly
Mr.
what we're trying to address.
Senator Williams-Graves. Senator Hashmi, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a quick question for the patron. I think I'm reading this correctly, that this would also help our farmers with any costs with illegal dumping on their farmlands. And so this would help address the needs of people illegally coming and dumping.
That is exactly right. And there are, if that happens, anybody that has, if it's dumped on a farm or even if it's out in the county, I heard stories of one of the localities that had to spend thousands and thousands of dollars gathering them up because they were illegally dumped. And you do have to gather them up because they breed mosquitoes. There's all kinds of problems with a tire dump that is there, fires that get set. It's a terrible problem if it happens. And the thing is, because the illegal dumping, if it's happening on the ground, the people that are doing this are smart enough to know not to put it where it's going to be immediately seen. And then you stumble up on it somewhere later and it's turned into a big problem. And we just would really like to take the incentive away from everybody for this to happen, so we can, again, make this at no cost to the consumers and have the manufacturers take responsibility for putting this all into place. So.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Would you like to have some folks come forward who are, if we could set a 3 minutes on this, if we could have folks coming up who are in favor of the bill?
If there's anyone online that would like to speak in favor of the bill, please raise your hand.
Thank you, sir. Could you introduce yourself and give us your testimony?
My name is Bill Tanger, and to my friends, I tell them I live in a van down by the river. Not true. So I'm chairman of the only statewide river conservation coalition called Friends of the Rivers. And we have over 24 organizations that are part of our coalition. So we're all over the state per se. So we represent a lot of people. Yes, there's a problem. I try to relate the problem in a way that everybody can understand. The key to it is the fees. The goal is to eliminate the fees, because if you or I have a property we just bought, it has 4 tires on it we found. And so we have to take those tires to the landfill if we're responsible people, and not everybody is, because the landfill charges $3, $4, $5 a tire, okay? And so most people, not most people, I shouldn't say that, but a bunch of people take those tires and just throw them down a hill and take them in the national forest, roll them down the mountain, take them to the river, dump them in. And so every year we have river cleanups. On the James River in our neighborhood, we have a cleanup every year, and every year we get about 200 tires. And we think, good, river's clean. We go back the next year, there's another 200 tires, because enterprising people are going around to these small garages and collecting their tires and they might only charge that shop, automotive shop, like 50 cents a tire, and they can get rid of them really easy that way instead of going to the landfill and paying $4 a tire. Okay, so that's what's driving the bus is the fees.
Okay, thank you very much. We want to reserve some time for some other.
Yeah, okay, I'll just wrap this up.
Sir, quickly.
Okay, so a lot of counties will have a Clean Valley Day or a Clean County Day, and for one day of the year, you can bring your tires to their landfill and not be charged. And the craziness of that is, what about the other 345 days or 43 days? So in the rest of the year, they're throwing the tires in the wrong place.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Next.
Mr. Chairman and members, I'm Charles Ware. I'm Conservation Chairman of the Coastal Canoeists, and like Mr. Tanger, I'm kind of tired of pulling tires out of rivers on cleanups. I just wanted to address a couple issues that were contained in the letters that we sent. Oops.
Excuse me, Michael, could you add 2 minutes, please? And just make your testimony quick.
I will. I just note that DEQ seems to estimate that there are about 9 million waste tires generated in the state every year, about one per person, and they can account for about a third of those tires. I'm guessing the other 2/3 probably go into tire dumps, maybe landfills, but the state really needs to take a good look at the final disposition of those tires. There are some current recycling sites where, basically uses, I meant to say, where tires are ground up and made into an asphalt additive or something like that. Some of most of the rest that are used for some other purpose are burned, and there are some people that have reservations about that. But the remainder are just sitting on the ground someplace. They represent a major environmental threat in this state. There have been a number of really large tire fires, including in the jurisdiction where I worked as zoning administrator for a number of years, and that was the city of Petersburg, where we had a major fire. So I thank the senator for his support, and I would thank you to support the bill.
Thank you so much. We'll add a couple of minutes to the other side as well. Just turn the clock off. We'll go ahead.
Mr. Chair, there's one person online that would like to speak in favor. Pat?
Okay, let's finish with the live folks first.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Nathan Thompson, James River Association. Given the serious issue of tires in the James River watershed, we do support the bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Stephen Carter Lovejoy with the Virginia Sierra Club, and we also support this bill. Thank you.
All right.
Pat Calvert, you may unmute, and please make sure your camera's on.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chair, Pat Calvert, Virginia Conservation Network. We support this bill. Sorry, my camera's off and it's not functioning for me, so I look like I did last week.
None of us look like we did last week. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Did we lose them? Okay, very good.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Bo Keeney, representing the Virginia Automotive Association, essentially the tire retailers. We greatly appreciate Senator Head bringing this forward. However, we believe this is the wrong mechanism to address the issue. Industry is much more comfortable with the version that is currently proceeding through the House. It is of note that there is no other centralized system that is currently operational in the United States right now. Connecticut has a program that is on the books that does not become operational until January of 2025. Vermont has a bill that is currently going through their legislature, but it has not been passed. In April of 2023 in Ontario, Canada, that has been referenced, the Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority has cited 5 of the organizations that collect and recycle used tires in their centralized program because they are failing to comply with the provisions of the Canadian law. The authority has slapped compliance orders on 5 organizations citing that they are not providing enough sites to collect tires. Although we greatly appreciate Senator Head bringing this forth, the centralized system truly is not what is going to fix the problem, and industry believes that the version that is moving forward through the House is really going to be able to address the bigger issue at hand. We're working on that issue with representatives of forestry, the haulers, bringing industry together to really take a look at that. So we would greatly appreciate you voting no on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Keeney. Next, Rob Shin.
If there's anyone online that would like to speak in opposition, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Rob Shin, representing the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries. As noted earlier, this is based on a Connecticut statute recently passed. Our folks who deal in this, and one of our members, Emmanuel Tire, they process 70% of the tires in Virginia, so they really know what they're talking about. Their point of view is that the existing statutory program works fairly well, with the exception of the issue of haulers, and not all the haulers, but just these less reputable mom and pop ones that will pick up the tires and not take it to the destination. So it's our belief that a more surgical approach that gets at the hauler issue through mandatory regulation, registration, enforcement, is a better approach. In talking with the senator, this is a problem, and we're not opposed to a vehicle going forward so that talks can continue, but it's very much our opinion that surgically fixing the existing program is better than creating a whole new statutory structure.
Well, hard as it is for me to imagine such a thing, but you favor the House version?
Well, I'm hoping that it's going to become the Senate version at some point.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Okay, next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Corey Connors with the Virginia Forestry Association. We have no formal position on Senator Head's bill. We do appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. It is a huge problem for forest landowners. I have several members reporting in Senator Head's district and across the Commonwealth that these cleanups are costing between $4,000 and $6,000, that they're having to bring in heavy equipment to do removal of tires, that they have to drive hundreds of miles out of the way to find a recycling center to take them to, that they have to do remediation and replanting and reforestation to fix where the tires were dumped. So again, several, dozens of man hours, thousands of dollars. We would associate with the comments of the previous speaker with respect to having a more targeted approach on the haulers, but we do have no position on the bill.
Thank you so much. Next, Brett.
Mr. Chairman, Brett Vassy, Virginia Manufacturers Association. We actually manufacture tires in Roanoke, Virginia. We understand the issue of waste and pollution, but that has absolutely nothing to do with manufacturing a tire and the extended producer responsibility. If you look at line 30 in your bill, line 30 specifically targets U.S. manufacturers only. So this is an anti-U.S. manufacturing approach. All the imported products, all the imported tires are exempt from this statute. So the other issue that is important in working with DEQ on this issue is we also have another problem of the waste tires in the current program. They have been being sent to North Carolina for a waste-to-energy facility, $2 million a year. That facility has been closed. We have no place to send these tires right now. And the idea of recycling, there are bills moving through the other body right now, and they're trying to ban the use of recycled tires for waste to fuel. And that is contemplated in this bill. So you're going to leave us with nothing, except for the responsibility to collect and house these tires as manufacturers when we actually did nothing to do the pollution. It's an individual responsibility. So we hope that we can move this bill in a different direction.
Thank you. Senator Williams-Graves, you had a question for one of the presenters on the...
Yes. The gentleman sitting on the front with the green tie. Mr. Chair, to the witness, in a quick summation, what are the differences between this bill and the bill in the House that we have not seen yet?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, the main differences, and this was alluded to earlier, is the House version is going to essentially track beginning of life to end of life on a tire. And it's going to start with the registration of the haulers and be able to track where those tires are going through the process. It's also going to address some of the funds that have been rearranged in DEQ as part of the Waste Tire Fund. Right now, there's approximately $1.9 million that have been going into the Waste Tire Fund that are being reappropriated through the budget process to wastewater. Restoring those funds, and there's a budget amendment on the House side as well with this, restoring those funds will be able to assist in things like tire cleanup. So putting a tracking system into place and restoring those funds will be kind of the first step of getting at those bad apples in the market and first step of cleanup.
Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Perry, I believe you had a question?
I'm sorry, you're not from DEQ, are you? Mr. Chairman, you're not from DEQ.
Mr. Chairman, Bo Keeney with the Virginia Automotive Association.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, is there someone here from DEQ?
I was trying to hide.
Senator,
you got to move off the third row. So I'm back. Mr. Chairman, and DEQ has a tire recycling program, is that right?
Yes, Mike Rollband, Director of DEQ. We do have a tire program, and to correct some misstatements here, the budget that's passed by the General Assembly and the Governor has directed DEQ to transfer $1.8 million and change from this fund to the stormwater fund, not the wastewater program. And it's not DEQ's decision to do that. We have to follow the law and the budget, okay?
Senator Perry.
Yes. And what is it that is, your program can't be reformed to satisfy Mr. Head? We need two programs because why?
We have no position on the bill at this time, but obviously one program is better than two.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Perry.
Sure. I think that's non-responsive to my question. I didn't ask if you had a position on it.
Okay.
My question is, why do we need two programs?
We did not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. If there are no further questions, the bill is before us. We operate on a motion.
And Mr. Chair, just to
Certainly.
add one final point on that. This is a process, and if we do act favorably on it, I would agree with, I think where Senator Perry was alluding, we don't need two programs. We need one program that actually works and addresses the problem, because the problem is what we've got now ain't working. And we have a real problem, and we need to get it all cleaned up. And it's particularly a problem on our side of the state, and we'd really like to get that cleaned up. That being said, this is part of the process, and hopefully the bill working its way through the House will also be working through, and as we go through that process, we can come to some place where we can sort this out and come up with a proper solution. And we're looking at two different
Thank you, Senator
plans.
Head. We have a question from Senator Hackworth. Senator Hackworth.
Yeah, just speak to the bill.
Speak to the bill.
Mr. Chair. I want to thank my colleague for bringing this, and I think it's more complex than I realized when I first read this. I understand that we do have a huge problem with tires. We have kayaking in the Clinch River, and we have the stream sweepers that come down, and that is the main issue that they talk about every year is removing tires. With that being said, I do have a problem with this being targeted only to United States tire manufacturers and some of the issues that was raised. So I'll be a gentle no on this.
Mr. Chair, if I could address that.
Senator Head.
It actually, the only manufacturers that are called out as manufacturers are there. If you look at line 30 and 30 through 37, when you're talking about who the producer is, the first one that's identified is a brand holder of the tire that's a resident of the United States. That's the tire manufacturer. That's the United States manufacturers. But if it's not done in the United States, then the person who is the distributor of the tires in the United States becomes the responsible party for those tires not manufactured here. If there is no distributor, then it is the person that imports them. If there is no importer, then it becomes the retailer of the tires. So all the tires, whether they're manufactured in the United States or abroad, are going to be treated equally in this. It's just ultimately that's how that has to come about. So,
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? All right, we operate on a motion. You have a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the patron. I would like to echo the gentleness of passing this by indefinitely.
Okay, we have a motion to PBI. Do we have a second? Have a motion and a second to PBI. Mr. Clerk, if you could open the roll, vote aye if you're in favor of PBI, and nay if you are not.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. Bill is PBI'd. Hopefully the House will have a better solution. Thank you, Senator.
I certainly appreciate the consideration today. Thank you all.
All right, there we go. Senator McPike, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 243. And Mr. Chairman, I know
Address
you had
your attention to Senate Bill 243.
I know you had Senate Bill 462. I don't know if you wanted to roll that one in or what your pleasure was, Mr. Chairman, as well.
I thought we already, did we already do that? If we could check real quick.
Which one? 462?
I think, is this the roll in from my bill to yours? It's already incorporated.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do have a substitute for the
Okay.
committee as well.
Oh, okay, there's a substitute. We have a motion on a substitute. We have a motion and a second on a substitute. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the substitute is before us. Do we have something to hand out, or is it online? It is online. So could you give us just a moment to do that, Senator McPike? We
Absolutely,
will go
Mr. Chairman.
online and find this rascal. All right, Senator McPike, could you explain the substitute?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So first off is an overview of the need for the legislation. PFAS, or forever chemicals, as they're commonly called, are a class of synthetic chemicals that do not easily break down in the environment, but instead build up and persist in our bodies of water, soil, wildlife. And so you've probably seen some news report, and even at very low levels can cause negative health impacts. And so, Mr. Chairman, monitoring the presence of PFAS in water systems is one of the key components of this bill. It sets out both definitions and guidance in terms of what's adopted through EPA through monitoring our drinking water systems. And I think more importantly, it sets up really the expert advisory committee to help serve as guidance between VDH, between DEQ, to be able to identify the point sources within our drinking water. It provides a framework for quarterly reporting as well as sort of prioritizing those point sources where you've hit the maximum containment levels and exceedance within that testing framework. And so this is an important aspect that is hitting all parts of the Commonwealth. If you look at some of the early testing information that's out there, there's really no community that's immune to what's impacting. And we've heard concern from both the agricultural community, watermen, it's showing up in fisheries, in drinking water, and so many different components. Our first step is to make sure we have good data, and that's what this bill really seeks out to do, as well as to ensure we have experts at the table that can look at the reports that we have coming in, help us to prioritize how to tackle this together, because this is something that really is going to have long-lasting impacts in Virginia. This really starts to really set a baseline, and it's my hope in the future will put us in good shape to also receive federal funds, because this is going to be a long-term, very large financial issue to solve across many different systems. And so, Mr. Chairman, the substitute before you is a collaboration between stakeholders that we've received consensus on, and I don't know any opposition to date on this, and I appreciate hearing from folks and feedback both at DEQ, the Department of Health, the administration, our friends in the environmental community, river keepers, and many others that have come to the conclusion in this substitute to help move this forward, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator McPike. Do we have any questions from the committee to Senator McPike? All right. Senator McPike, do you have some folks who want to speak in favor? All right. Chris Pomeroy, come on by.
If there's anyone online that would like to speak in favor of the bill, please raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Pomeroy representing the Virginia Municipal Drinking Water Association. The association is comprised of 40 of the largest water supply utilities in the Commonwealth, serving 3 out of every 4 Virginians. And Mr. Chairman, we'd like to thank you and Senator McPike both for your leadership on this complex topic of PFAS chemicals. Ubiquitous chemical class that brings the challenges that Senator McPike described a moment ago. The Drinking Water Association really appreciates the help the bill provides because it does so in a prioritized way to begin with the public water systems facing the most significant levels of PFAS in public water supply. It really doesn't take much of certain of the PFAS chemicals to raise the concern. The bill is smartly structured to deal with those that have the highest levels compared to the new EPA standards and direct attention at some targeted monitoring for a period of a year and some assistance with DEQ and looking up in the watershed to find areas where there might be excessive sources that would be the low-hanging fruit and the place to start. So we think it's a smart structure to begin to tackle the most important challenges first in this area. For that reason, the Drinking Water Association supports the bill and would ask the committee to report it, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Bassey from Manufacturers Association.
Mr. Chairman, Virginia Manufacturers Association and Virginia Chemistry Council, we were a stakeholder. We thank the patron. It was a long time getting here, and we do support the bill.
Thank you. Ms. Wally.
How are you, sir? Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jennifer Wally, Deputy Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources. We would like to thank you, as well as Senator McPike and all of the various stakeholders that have worked many diligent hours to get to this point. So we are comfortable with the substitute. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Steve Carter Lovejoy with the Virginia Sierra Club. And while we recognize that this is not a perfect vehicle, we think that it acknowledges the importance of PFAS, and the Sierra Club supports passing this bill.
All right.
Thank you.
Is there anyone out there to speak negatively of this great bill?
Mr. Chair, there are 2 people that would like to speak in favor.
Oh, okay. Let's,
Betsy Nicholas, please unmute and make sure your camera's on.
If I said, as part of Potomac Riverkeeper Network, Vice President of Programs there, Betsy Nicholas, that we wouldn't like to see something a little bit stronger, but there was a lot of hard work that went into this, and it is an excellent first step in addressing the threats of PFAS to public health in Virginia, and will provide a lot of needed information that we can use to stop PFAS at the source, and also, as Senator McPike said, hopefully look for federal funding to help us in protecting everyone in the state from this problem. Thank you. We support the substitute.
All right. Thank you so much.
David, you may unmute, and please make sure your camera's on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. David Slav from Wild, Virginia. We thank you and Senator Pike for the hard work on this bill. We supported the original bills, and we've come along to support the substitute. We know, like everybody else, that there's a long ways to go to solve this problem, but we think this is an important step. So we appreciate it, and we support this.
Yeah, I think we're good here. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition?
If there's anyone online that would like to speak in opposition, please raise your hand.
Move to report.
We have a motion and a second to report. Mr. Clerk, could you open the roll, and it will be re-referred to Finance. So that is the motion to report and re-refer. Correct, Senator Stewart?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's my motion.
All right, there you go. And if you could open the roll, vote yay if you're in favor, aye if you're opposed.
You mean that nice, warm color?
Ayes 15, no 0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Senator McPike, for your work on this. And if I could, I'm going to turn the gavel over to Senator Favola. And I have 2 bills, and that will complete our docket for the day. Thank you, Madam Chair. Could we take up Senate Bill 712 first?
Okay, colleagues, turn your attention to Senate Bill 712.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been working at this for any number of years, and it has escalated. The problem has continued to escalate between folks who hunt, primarily the hunters of deer and property owners in areas where hound hunting is legal in the pursuit of deer. And we have come down to a very simple approach. But here's the problem. Imagine every day during hunting season at your home, somebody pulls up in front of your driveway or in front of your home and releases a number of dogs who come through your property, who disturb your animals, disturb your sleep, disturb your peace of mind, your tranquility. And when you ask, why are you dropping these dogs off here, the person merely says, well, I don't know where my dogs are going to go, and they have a right to retrieve. And I'm not after the right to retrieve here. But what I am after is people purposely leaving, discharging dogs onto a public road and knowing that there's no side of that road that those dogs would be welcome. It's rude. It has gotten to be a huge problem. And I understand the nature of the business. This is a long-held tradition in Virginia, but it's just become too easy not to get permission to pull onto someone's property and release your dogs. It's just easier to find a place, pull over, let your dogs loose, and let them go where they will, often going onto people's property who do not want them there. What this bill does is a couple of things. Makes it a Class 3 misdemeanor, no jail time for a first offense, a Class 1 misdemeanor for a second offense if you release your dogs on a public road within 15 feet either side of the road. That usually will take you across the ditch line. And in this regard, it's going to hopefully make folks more careful about making arrangements to find a place where those dogs would be welcome to be released. If they go on someone's property, then so be it. I'm not trying to stop that. And the bill does allow for the pickup of these dogs on a public right-of-way because you don't know where they're going to be and how you can retrieve them. This is a very, very minimalist approach to deal with this problem. It does not interfere with the right to retrieve here in the Commonwealth. It just says don't drop your dogs off within 15 feet of the side of a road because it interferes with the peace, tranquility of your neighbors. And this happens on a continuing basis at the same places to the same people day in and day out. And I know you will hear a different story from the deerhound hunters, but I do have some witnesses who would like to give you their personal experience, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Marsden. I have received about
Excuse me, there is a substitute.
There's a substitute, okay. Colleagues, I'll ask that we adopt the substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. So is the substitute
that is what I have
substantially is
That's
what you
I've
explained?
Described.
Okay. I've received 200 emails on this, and I have received visits. So we are going to keep the pro side. Each side will get 5 minutes. And then I will ask those in favor to stand if you haven't had the opportunity to speak, and those in opposition to stand if you haven't had the opportunity to speak. We're going to start the timer, and 5 minutes for each side. So choose your speakers wisely, because if somebody is long-winded and takes 4 minutes, then everybody else has a minute left. But will the first speaker please come forward?
If there's anyone online that would like to speak in favor, raise your hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, good day. I'm Mike Morrison from Buckingham County. Like many of your constituents, I am besieged by road-dumped GPS-tracked dogs in our area. I don't call this hunting anymore. I call it the annual dump, catch, and release program. Meanwhile, the VDOT right-of-way is being churned into a muck while our county roads endure an invasion that we no longer call hunting season. We call it the siege. It's funny because under 24 VAC 302130, general provisions by VDOT, it says no person, firm, or corporation shall occupy or use the right-of-way of any highway for any purpose except travel, unless that's authorized by VDOT. And I don't think that dump, catch, and release is travel. So the personal part of this is this happens within 30 yards of where my grandchildren play. There are multiple bullet holes all around in the buildings. I fear for my kids' lives. Please do something to stop this.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Senators, thank you for your time allowing me to speak. My name is Jim Medeiros. I represent the Property Rights Coalition of Virginia. We are a group of property owners. We are a pro-hunting organization. We do support this legislation. We feel this is a valuable tool to help with this conflict. We wish to see our roadways to be safe for the motoring public and to be safe for the animals that are used in hound hunting. We are not anti-hound hunting. We simply wish to see hunting where it belongs, on property where it is welcomed. And we wish to see this continue as a tradition in Virginia. However, we wish for the conflict to come to a stop. And I urge you to please support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee, I'm Tabitha Treelor with the Richmond SPCA. I'm also speaking on behalf of the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies, which is a membership organization of more than 113 shelters and rescues in Virginia. We do support the bill. We feel like this is a nice step toward providing safety for the animals, but also for the people whose property is affected. So we do hope that you will report the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Judge Charlton. I'm president of the Virginia Property Rights Alliance. I'm from Charlotte County, and I support this bill. Road hunters using dogs create a negative image for all hunters. The best thing to do is get these guys off the road. Thank you.
Todd Grubbs, Farmville, Virginia. I support this. We have year-round dog trespass on our private property, and I support anything that'll keep the dogs off our private property. It's facilitated by them using the roads a lot of the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Senator Favola, members of the committee. My name is Daphne Nekminovich, and I represent People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, which is based in Norfolk, and our nearly 145,000 members and supporters in the Commonwealth. We support this bill. In addition to keeping motorists and people safe, it is also safer for the dogs. We do collect dogs at the end of each hunting season who have been abandoned, who are found in the woods, who are starved and emaciated, and this bill it will help a little bit to keep them safe and certainly keep people safe as well. So we urge you to report. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, there's one person online that would like to speak. Chris Patton, please unmute and make sure your camera's on.
Go ahead. And you're speaking in favor. This is go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Chris Patton. I'm the spokesman for the Virginia Property Rights Alliance. We support this bill as dropping hunting dogs on public roads not only creates a safety hazard for motorists and the dogs themselves, but the practice is used by dog hunters to run their dogs through private posted property without the permission of the landowner. During the fall, it is commonplace for me to see trucks lining the public road in front of my farm and watch them drop dozens of dogs with the intent of running them through my posted private property to chase the deer onto the roads that are lined by hunters with shotguns. This is pure insanity, but it happens daily in rural Virginia during deer season, and it simply has to stop. Private property is private. That's non-negotiable. Thank you.
Thank you. I expect that the remaining speakers online are in opposition.
If there's anyone online that would like to speak in opposition, raise your hand.
Just so we know, and then I'm going to take those who are here in person first.
Max Crittenden, please unmute and make sure your camera's on.
Good afternoon. My name is Max Crittenden, and I'm from Deltaville, Virginia. I'm a second-year agriculture technology student at Virginia Tech, and I'm here on behalf of Riverdale Farms and the Wilton Hunt Club. I'm the fourth-generation houndsman in my family, and I'm proud to say that. Last week, I drove over 8 hours from Blacksburg to be at the General Assembly and missed a whole day of school. That should tell you how important dog hunting means to me. I first want to start by saying this bill hurts dog hunters Dog hunters are really feeling the heat this year after especially 2 dogs were killed in King and Queen County and 2 dogs were killed and another one injured in Essex County. All 5 dogs were killed or injured at point blank range. These dogs are doing what they love the most, and that's to run deer. I'd like to remind the senators what dog hunters do for the community. They sponsor local little leagues, they sponsor firefighters, fire departments, and most importantly, they feed Virginia through Hunters for the Hungry. Hunters for the Hungry has donated over 7,738,941 pounds of deer meat to needy Virginia families. This bill is very misleading in many ways. It targets deer hunters. It doesn't apply to coon hunters, bear hunters, or rabbit hunters. Just deer hunters.
I think I'm going to ask you to conclude because I'm only giving 5 minutes to each side. So I'm going to move now.
I'll end today with one question. Why does a senator from Fairfax keep trying to change dog hunting when it is already illegal to dog hunt in Fairfax? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so those in the audience who wish to speak in opposition to the bill, please come forward. And again, there's 5 minutes total. I was gracious with the gentleman on the Zoom. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the Senate Ag Committee. My name is Robin Hutt. I'm a lifelong dog hunter, and I'm a native and currently a resident of Richmond County, Virginia. I'm here to request opposition to SB 712. During my discussions with many of your staff in the last week, as I've been here, I was made aware that the anti-dog hunting groups have alleged that dog hunters are using state roadways to release dogs onto property on which they don't have permission. Meanwhile, DWR's own complaint statistics do not identify that as a common occurrence. Please be aware that 18.2-132-1 in its current form already makes this illegal. Another reason for our opposition is that many of the properties we own, lease, or otherwise have permission to hunt can only be accessed from a state road, typically a lightly traveled rural roadway. Again, we only advocate this for land that the hunter can legally hunt. I respectfully request your opposition to SB 712. Thank you for your time.
Morning, committee members. My name is John Morris from Chesapeake. I'm a board member of the Virginia Hunting Dog Alliance. I've hound hunted in Southeast Virginia for 62 years. I'm speaking in opposition to this bill. Please be aware that the code section referenced by SB 712, 18.2-132.1, was created and ultimately passed by efforts of the Virginia Hunting Dog Alliance in 2016. This statute made intentionally releasing dogs onto property where the dog owner did not have permission illegal, something we all are in favor of, especially the dog hunting community. Again, the Virginia Hunting Dog Alliance initiated this law, not anti-dog hunting groups or Virginia DWR. One element of our opposition to SB 712 is the reality that a minor language change made at any point of the legislative process would create a non-intentional dog trespass bill, a concept which has been rejected by the Virginia General Assembly on a bipartisan basis on several occasions. Senators, this proposed legislation is unnecessary and could result in a negative modification of an effective code section. We respectfully request that you oppose SB 712.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is April Brooks, resident of Essex County. I've hunted with dogs for roughly 12 years. I'm here to oppose SB 712 and to state that further sanctions on regulations regarding my sport, such as this bill, are not necessary. This belief is borne out by DWR statistics pertaining to complaints referencing dog hunting in the Commonwealth. The number of these complaints is minimal, often coming from the same small group of people. In Essex County, dog hunting has proven to be an important economic benefit to the rural community. Further, its value in controlling crop damage is undeniable. We are asking that the positive elements of dog hunting not be diminished by this unnecessary legislation. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Martha Moore, Virginia Farm Bureau. We are opposed to the legislation. With regards to the substitute, there's a couple of things that I would point out that's not really been talked about by other speakers. Across Virginia, the right-of-ways, as far as what local government and VDOT controls, is of varying width. So while I appreciate that we're trying to make clarification for 15 feet, that is not necessarily consistent across the state. So we're leading to confusion with regards to our citizens to know, are they in compliance or are they not in compliance with respect to the statute. The other point that I would make is that we've heard a lot about deer hunting with dogs, but this also applies to anyone who would hunt with dogs for bear or for nuisance species like coyotes. So for those reasons, we continue to oppose the bill, and we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Martha, would you say there's a question from a colleague, Senator Stewart?
Martha, as you read that bill, would that prevent me from releasing on my own property as well? If I was within, I think it's 15 feet of the right-of-way
Yes.
is the way I read it.
Yes,
Is
I
that
would
a-
read it that way.
Is that a taking?
I'm sorry,
Is that
what?
a constitutional taking?
It could be.
Are there any other questions, colleagues? Is there anybody remaining on Zoom who wishes to oppose the bill? If so, just state your name and where you're from if you represent an organization, and just state no. There's nobody else. Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could conclude.
Yes, Senator Marsden.
Thank you so much. It is unlawful to release your dogs on the lands of another. So what you do is you pull up right to that border and you release the hounds, and when they go where they have to go, which is on somebody's property, you go, I didn't do anything wrong. And Senator Stewart, to your problem with that, I think we could fix that easily on the floor to make sure this doesn't apply to somebody whose property it is, and that would be a very easy thing to do, and I can work with you on that and make that floor amendment to make sure that doesn't happen. But Madam Chair, this is leading to confrontations. I have pictures of dogs with arrows through them from frustrated property owners. I get these every year when one of these bills comes up. It puts people in confrontation with each other. We did have one stabbing, I believe it was on the northern neck 2-3 years ago, in a confrontation between a landowner and a hound hunter. And the world is changing. I wish there were still 5,000-acre tracts for people to roam, but land has been divided up into smaller groups, and people do have rights to peace and tranquility, and they're just held hostage during hunting season by people pulling up on a public road, letting the dogs out, knowing that there's nowhere to go for those dogs but on the lands of another. And it doesn't change the right to retrieve, and it allows them to pick their dogs up. But this has got to stop, and this is the year to do it. Thank you.
Colleagues, do you have a motion? Okay. Motion has been made to report with it has amendment in the nature of a substitute is what we're reporting. This does not have to go to finance, right?
Correct. Only
it
bill.
Does? I don't
all
see
year. It didn't have to go to finance.
Staff, does this have to go to finance? Okay, good. Okay, the motion, I think Senator Supermamian made it to report the substitute. Is there a second? There's a second? Okay, will the clerk open the roll, please?
Ayes 8, no 7.
Okay, guess your bill reports. Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. I have one more, and that will close out the docket for the Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resource Committee for the year. Senate Bill 461. You have a sub on that, please, if we could. Sub should be online, Madam Chair, if it pleases the committee to adopt it.
Could I have a motion, please, to adopt this? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, substitutes before us. Go ahead, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What's happening to our forest land? That's what this bill attempts to find out by creating a study to do just that. The substitute before you was agreed upon by our ag and forestry partners as well as the development community. The Forest Conservation Plan of the Department of Forestry to ask the Department of Forestry to assess the health of our forests and urban and suburban tree canopy. Despite being one of the strategies in our Chesapeake Bay Watershed Implementation Plan, our tree canopy is trending downward. We need this baseline understanding to identify why we've lost thousands of acres of trees. What are the land use changes that are driving this loss? This assessment will help us identify forest fragments and opportunities for reforestation as well as identity challenges and recommend programs and funding opportunities to improve the health of Virginia's trees. Trees, whether in a forest or a city, are one of the most cost-effective strategies the Commonwealth has to mitigate the impacts of climate change. Our forests filter our drinking water and capture carbon. Our urban trees cool our cities, reduce energy use, reduce both coastal and inland flooding, and reduce prohibited stormwater runoff. The Forest Conservation Plan will prepare Virginia to be a climate-ready Commonwealth. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, the department will establish a conservation plan, I expect, with stakeholders, although the substitute doesn't say that, but is that the intent?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair.
Senator Stanley.
And I'd ask a question of the patron first. You don't got a lot of trees where you live, do you, boy?
We have lots of trees in Fairfax County, believe it or not, and we have a tree canopy plan for our county.
And Madam Chair. Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Senator Stanley.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I asked the gentleman, you've been down my way, and you've seen we got a bunch of trees, right?
I see
much more than you got in Fairfax.
I see a lot of open farmland and some trees on the mountains. Yes, I do.
All right. So the question, Madam Chair, I would ask the gentleman, if I may.
Yes, Senator Stanley.
So, what I've seen is where we've seen a lot of wildfires, whether it be out west or in some other areas, is part of management and the forest management is also managing the underbrush, the dead, the dead wood that lies from fallen trees, leaves that accumulate over time. Is this conservation plan that you're talking about also talking about fire management and not letting it go willy-nilly like it has in Canada and California, which has cost them so many acreage of trees by fire?
Madam Chair, Senator Stanley, I believe certainly the committee can delve into any area that determines what it is that's taking place that is eliminating our forest land. If it's forest fires and that there are better management plans, hopefully that becomes one of the issues that's discussed.
Madam Chair?
Senator Stanley.
Hopefully, but that's not set forth in your bill.
It is not. If you would like to make a friendly amendment to add that to the list, I'd certainly welcome that.
I'd love it.
Could we, Madam Chair, if we could adopt that in concept and let staff?
What would your amendment be? I would just like Senator Stanley to articulate it.
Madam Chair, what we talk about here is ground management, which is the management in the forest, not of the trees, but necessarily what's on the ground around the trees, which then turns into tinder. And during hot summer days when forest fires are either started or occur, then they go up and the acreage burn rate increases enormously. So something that would be a part of the conservation plan.
So
Madam Chair, someone here.
Because you want to save the trees, keep the trees, and not have them burned down.
Mr. Ford?
Madam Chair and Senator Stanley, there is the phrase challenges to our forest lands, which we believe would encompass your concern. If you're open to it, we think that's a good catch-all for challenges, certainly would encompass forest fires and forest management.
How the vague can apply.
And Madam Chair, I would also say to Senator Stanley is that I want to provide more forests for a pair of beagles that I'm personally aware of to be able to roam free.
Yes. No, you don't want them to roam free. You don't.
So
They do.
So is there, the intent is not just establish a forest land and urban tree canopy conservation plan to conserve the Commonwealth's forest land and incentivize the protection of forests and other similar sensitive natural areas. So that might pick up what you're talking about as an integral part of state forestry planning.
Yes, but I think, Madam Chair, if I may, what I think probably happens and occurs is we're worried about returning canopy to, say, a suburban area, but we have vast swaths of forest in our regions below Northern Virginia, and that I think we should be thinking about making sure that we're taking care of that to prevent the forest fires that have devastated some of our areas. I mean, we've had that in some of our mountains in Bedford County, and it's not been. And I mean, you walk outside and you guys want to talk about smog you have in Northern Virginia. There's nothing like a burning forest fire.
Well, on line 15, you could put a comma after planning and say something, including.
Counselor over there is one of the most amazing wordsmiths we have in the Senate. So
General
I trust
Counsel,
him completely.
I think we're trying to include sensitive areas under the canopy that need to be conserved, but I leave it to your wonderful pen to help us, in concept anyways.
And a wonderful pen you have, man.
And I would move that concept for staff to put in.
Is there any questions that you all understand conceptually? Okay, so motion has been made to add in sensitive areas beneath the canopy. Senator Stanley, that's your motion. Is there a second? All right, all those in favor of adopting that amendment in concept signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now your bill, your substitute is amended.
And Madam Chair, I would just close with, I can't remember the author, but I think that I shall never see a thing as lovely as a tree, whether they be in Franklin County or Arlington.
Well, you're welcome to sing a song for us, but I think we do get the point.
Madam Chair, I was told by a great
Senator Stanley.
A great political philosopher just said this morning that nobody goes to Fairfax anymore. So, they need to come down my way where there are trees.
Of course, I didn't hear that great philosopher, but anyway.
He's standing right in front of you.
Yes, Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move to report with a substitute.
It's the substitute as amended.
As amended, yes.
And does it have to go to finance? I think it might. I'm going to ask the patron if moving the bill along would satisfy any potential speakers, or if somebody's dying to speak. We have a motion to report your substitute as amended, unless you want to slow the train and bring speakers forward.
I think, reading the panel, I think the bill is in great shape. I have a convert in Senator Stanley, so I think we can go.
Okay. So,
Madam Chair, wait a minute.
So the motion is to pass the substitute as amended and re-refer to finance?
This is filmed. This could get out.
Senator Stanley, you're going to second the motion.
I would second the motion,
Williams-Graves
but I would ask, does the Farm Bureau, I think the Farm Bureau had an issue. You have a House companion, I guess. Have you conformed any of your bill to? Oh, Farm Bureau just gave you the thumbs up.
Okay.
So yes, that is my motion.
All right. Will the clerk open the roll, please?
Senator?
Senator.
Ayes 15, no zero.
See, we have green thumbs.
It's going to finance, but
thank you.
Thank you,
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Chairman.
I think that's it.
That's it.